I start generally with one song and see where it takes me. I've done it for decades, but that's how it works every single week. I have never done a show or a gig and not been mid to high level anxious about it. The mix is almost 70% spontaneous. So I'm hearing as I go along and thinking, how's this gonna sound? After doing it for so long, you gotta say, okay, I know how to do this. I don't have a whole lot of tricks. The only trick I have is music. Seattle really is just a big neighborhood. It was a place for us to grow.
We all have a gift of some sort. It's just my vision of what I see.
Theater allows you to hit harder and be more. There's a sense of hope that your story will survive longer than you will.
Church was the way I learned how to read people. And it's real easy as a DJ because you can see all of them and they're really not paying attention to you. I can look for head nods. I can look for people tapping their feet. They don't have to dance, because you don't know what's going through a person when they're hearing something. But I look for little physical signs and I follow that muse. I became DJ Riz because somebody yelled it at me across the street. Yo, DJ Riz. Like, oh, I guess that's who I am. I'm just different, I'm a freak. The choir director at my grandmother's church stood in the front. The left row was for the senior choir. The right row was for the junior choir. And you swayed and you bounced. And you swayed and you bounced. I grew up with that. I just feel I had this wholesome kind of complete experience with music. So I don't listen to it from here so much, from my ears, as I do from the lower half of my body. But I've been that way since I was a little boy. They took me to the opera and I thought I was gonna poop my pants. It was Chicago Lyric Opera. They were doing La Traviata. The strings of the overture hit and I got the shakes. The curtain goes up and there's this huge ballroom scene with chandeliers and the whole bit, and I could barely breathe. Other kids were falling asleep. I was like, wow. I was groomed to be a pastor. The pastor of our church said, he's gonna be a great preacher someday. And I said, hold that thought. I don't wanna do that. Without further ado, I'm gonna check my phone for the lyrics. I sang a lot. I sang in a choir and Operation Breadbasket, then Operation Push with Jesse Jackson. So I decided to go to Bible college. When I went to school in the 70s, they were trying to do what eventually they did and establish, Christian, white evangelical Christianity as the national religion. I thought my last year, this will kill me. The only way that you could fit into that culture is if you die to yours. And one of my roommates, my best friend, moved to Salem, Oregon, and he came through and he said, you look like your light is about to go out. I said, I feel like my light is about to go out. I've been telling people, and he said, no, you need to come live with us. And then after a couple of years in Salem, Oregon, I thought, this is Mayberry. I can't live here. So I had to choose between San Francisco and here. And I chose here because I just started coming out. When I was sad when I was a kid, I used to sit in the living room listening to Dusty Springfield and cry. Because I was wishing and hoping and thinking and praying for something, a kind of love that I was attracted to but hadn't seen experience. And I knew when I was a young boy that I liked other boys. I just did, but I wasn't supposed to. So I said, well, because I'm not, then I'm not gonna like them. But I wish one would just hold my hand. I wanted to go steady. I wanted to have a boy I can go to the movies with. Raid, everybody on the dance floor. I have a husband. I never, ever thought it would happen. The first record I loved was called The Peppermint Twist, because I'm that old. I found myself at 30 saying to God, I'm a failure. I was at a complete loss. I only knew how to wait tables. I couldn't get a job waiting tables here because back in 1978, 1980, you didn't see black people waiting tables. Seattle was a melting pot for all sorts of freakdom, and that's how you got grunge, and that's how you got your underground hip hop here. And freaks, blurs, black nerds. Seattle embraced the black nerd. I worked at a record store where all the members of all the grunge groups, Mother Love Bone, Nirvana, Soundgarden, we all knew each other because Seattle really is just a big neighborhood. After being there for a few years, a woman came in, her name was Paula, and she came in and she said, there's a club that just opened up and we're looking for DJs. And I was wondering if you'd be interested in being a DJ. And I said, no, I don't do that. I am not good at aspiration. I was never able to say, this is what I'm gonna do when I grow up. But I've been really good at opportunity. Opportunity in Seattle was a great place for opportunity. Radio happened the same way. In fact, it's about maybe a week later, a guy had been coming in, he was a music director at KCMU, and he said, I really want you to come down and apply for a job. And I said, no. So that means I just didn't like the sound of my voice. And I think I made my peace with it. So I went in there and started being on the radio. And I've been there ever since, 35 years. You're listening to 90.3 KEXP, Big Bopper.
We believe music heals. A mission around KEXP is basically to bring community together and to change people's lives through music. A song, an artist, things we're playing, talking about can truly save lives. I don't know if we'd have a mission around community and trying to save people's lives through music without Riz, because he created that early when other DJs weren't doing that. Without him, Seattle is a very different city. He has been a constant for decades here in the community, playing music, bringing people together, championing causes. He has been the soul of this place, as I've said, since he started decades ago. So he's on the air, in the clubs. He is physically present in our community, which a lot of people are not. He is present in so many different communities and clubs and locations and music in our history. You can't have a music community without Riz in Seattle. He is everything. The city's arts, at least, has been built on.
There's a phrase where you present yourself to the divine as an empty vessel, and then God pours into it. That's the way it's felt for my life, that my life has been filled. I'm from the school of thought that if you want to be used by the divine, all you got to do is say yes.